Hello and welcome to this episode of Beef Tips and Gravy. I'm John Houston, Director of Business Services for ProTrition Feed. And I want to introduce my guests this evening, Mr. Kevin Thompson, Mr. Charlie Stogner, who is with the Middle Tennessee Research and Education Center, and we happen to be in Lewisburg at the Heifer Development Center. Charlie is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the center. Kevin is the director of the Middle Tennessee Research and Education Center, and we're certainly glad to have both of you with us and taking your time today to give us some information about the center and also about developing heifers and the importance of that. So it's really good to have you. So let's start, Charlie, with you and just tell us a little bit about the facility, what goes on here day to day, and kind of the things that if everything's going right, that you like to see happen. So,
the facility here is just over 600 acres. Primarily, it's majority grass. We don't have much wood, so we are really blessed with a lot of options as far as grazing goes. Our day to day is mainly rotating pastures or counting heads on pastures, and then we try to rotate weekly on our pastures. We've got fescue, native warm season grass that we utilize a lot. We'll use ryegrass in the spring, and then other than that, it's pretty smooth operation on a good day. It's pretty easy to handle as long as everything's going good and smooth. That grass makes our job a lot easier.
Absolutely. So, Charlie, if you think about it, we've got some heifers behind us here. I told the group a little bit earlier, you can look long and hard and not find a set of calves that are this good, this consistent, the herd sires that's used for cleanup and that kind of thing. But if you talked a little bit about the grass and what you've done to manage that, and certainly if we're talking to producers, when you're talking about a ruminant animal, first and foremost, it's about the forage. So tell me just a little bit about how you manage that grass, from I know you're grazing it, but as far as weed control and maybe some fertilization and that type of thing.
So with the grass that we've got here and the way we manage it, it's fairly easy to manage with the good management that we've had before us and that we get to utilize now. Fertilizer, we test every year and kind of just try to do what we can as far as fertilizer. Cost always affects on that, so we look at that. Spraying is a big thing we do here. We try to spray as much as we can every year just to keep weeds under control, and that pays off year after year if we can do that. As far as the grazing, the rotational grazing helps us more than anything, I think.
Absolutely. So Kevin, I'll switch gears a little bit and tell us a little bit about the program, the Heifer Development Program, its inception, kind of what the goal was at that time, how it's evolved, I guess in a big picture type thing about kind of what's really being accomplished here. And as I preface that question, I have to say that I'm a little biased here because I'm a University of Tennessee ag alum. But we're really looking at things that we can do in the Southeast and the research that comes out of University of Tennessee, not only from heifer development, but from other species as well, is second to none. And then getting that all that information assembled and out through our extension service. I got to say, we've got the best extension service in the country and the agents that we work with. So having said that, tell us what the dream was back in the day when it all started, and then how it's evolved since then.
Absolutely, John, and you hit the nail on the head in talking about the desire of the University of Tennessee to make a difference for our clientele. And our clientele are the same clientele that the Tennessee Farmers Cooperative has, and that's our producers that are out there making a living with the land, with the livestock, and with the forage. So going on 7 years ago, we were actually approached by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture because of something called the the rural challenge. There was a deficit in the number of cattle inventory within the state of Tennessee, and the question was asked by Governor Haslam at that time: what can the university do? What can TDA do? And then what can Tennessee Farmers Cooperative do to help ensure that our number one agricultural animal income, continues to bring a lot of income into the state? And that's where Dr. Justin Reinhardt, myself, and the crew here at DREC, or at that time it was DREC, now it's Middle Tennessee Research and Education Center, both here and in Spring Hill, sat down, and we had several conversations, and we identified probably one of the most economically important traits within the industry, and that's reproduction. And so how can we improve reproduction to the point that these cattle stay in the herd longer? So one way to improve our herd inventories and to make sure they continue to grow and not wane or decline or go through a cyclical up and a cyclical down is to make sure that we raise heifers in a proper way, that we can ensure those females are going to turn into brood cows not only 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, but still they're 10 years down the road. So that's really the inception of the Tennessee Beef Heifer Development Program located here at MTREC in Lewisburg. And it really started with a cooperative effort with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, the Tennessee Farmers Cooperative, John, and UTIA AgResearch. And it's truly been a blessing to us. So what we do from the university standpoint, we provide the labor. We provide the best management practices for these heifers and how that they're developed. So if we put all those into action, our best result is that these females have an opportunity to calve early within a producer's cow herd, get rebred with her second calf, so that she can calve her second go round in the first third of that mature cow herd. And if she does that, there's a very, very good probability that she's going to be in the herd producing calves each year for the next 10, 11, 12, 13 years. And then we've accomplished our goals. So from the inception, it's gone on in exceeding 7 years now, and we've actually seen that, Charlie. You have repeat customers that come in, and it's wonderful to get pictures of heifers that have gone through this program that have calved, and then the calves return to this program. And I might start and back up just a little bit. Not only is it a cooperative effort, has been a cooperative effort, the establishment of it with TFC, TDA, and UTIA, but it's directly built for our producers. So this is a consignment-based program. The heifers that you see behind us, the heifers that you'll see out grazing on the pasture later today, are not UT heifers. They are consigned from producers across this state, from the eastern portion to the western portion, and here in Middle Tennessee. And so they'll wean their calves, they'll bring them here, and they actually stay here for 10 months and go through those best management practices for development. From a nutrition standpoint, we positively impact their immune system by establishing a really, really quality animal health program and protocols that go into them. They go through 2 rounds of artificial insemination and then are provided the opportunity to get bred by a cleanup bull. And so if all that's done correctly, we've achieved our goal: return those heifers to the farms that they came from, and hopefully they'll stay there and keep producing quality feeder cattle for that producer and the state of Tennessee.
So, Kevin, just a follow-up question. So, when we talk about heifers, in the broad sense of the term, a heifer is a female bovine that hasn't calved yet.
Yes.
Okay, so,
Yep.
But a heifer is not a heifer.
Correct.
Right. So,
yes.
So there's heifer sales all over.
Yeah.
So when you think about a bred heifer sale and a producer's looking to buy a group of heifers, or maybe they're going to somebody young starting a program, what recommendations would you give a producer other than just phenotype? What do we need to be looking for there? So
Absolutely, that's a great question, and that's a question that many young people, many middle-aged people, and many older producers face on a yearly basis if they're wanting to expand their operation. And a heifer is, as you say, not just a heifer. You can spend just as much money on a poor quality, poor genetic based female as you can, the top of the line genetic based female. And ultimately your outcome, which is the income that female is going to bring to your operation, is always going to cost you money on those lower quality females. So whenever we're looking, and this program's really fostered, the ideas and the concepts are based around the University of Tennessee's Central Bull Testing Program, which gives producers the opportunity to consign their bulls and compare them against their contemporary breeders across the state to see where their deficits are in genetics and performance so that they can make those corrections. This program simulates that really well. This program, being a female program, is a slower growth program, and as Charlie mentioned, they do an awesome job in growing and putting as many of the pounds on these heifers as they can from a forage type situation. And if we select our heifers, the right kind of heifers that have the right genetics, that are very efficient from a net energy conversion standpoint, they're going to be able to put on the pounds in an efficient way in a low-cost type scenario. Now, we understand that we need to supplement cattle from time to time during different times of the year, but we really want to minimize the commercial purchase feed and maximize what we grow out here on the land. So that's the first thing, a genetic package that is efficient and adapted to really an all forage type scenario is so important. Then the next thing that we really want to look at, once we've got the genetics out there, and that includes disposition and structural soundness and all that, right? The next thing we want to look at is uniformity. Within our cow herds, we always have to think about the end game, right? And that's marketing. We want to make sure that those February days where it's rainy and cold and muddy and we're out there feeding and everybody else is in that warm house and everything, and we're out there really struggling and kind of uncomfortable feeding and taking care of those cattle, we want to make sure it pays off in the end. So the calf crop from that set of heifers that we're producing is so important. So we need to make sure that the females that we select for our replacements or that we go to a sale and purchase for our replacements have a high degree of uniformity within them, so that when we mate them with an artificial insemination sire or a bull that we purchase, that the calf crop is going to be uniform. So that goes into physiological age, because if they're the same age, we can breed them at the same time, and then we can calve them within a relatively small window. Color type, breed type, frame size, things of that nature need to be looked at, studied, and uniform as we go forward, so that our end game, our marketing program for those calves, is successful and gives us the greatest potential for profitability.
So shifting gears just a little bit back to Charlie, we're going to do a little segment in another episode on low stress cattle handling. But Charlie, I know with the scenarios that go on at a research center, it's very important that when you're handling these cattle, that low stress becomes very, very important. And in particular, not to say that it's not important, it's of utmost important on the farm, but in particular, when you're in a research-based and trying to really monitor data and trying to really work to get heifers bred and all those things. So tell me about some things that you guys would do when you get these heifers up here and work through the chutes. That I know the audience can't see the chutes behind us here, but when you work them through, what are some things that you really are concerned about when you get these cattle up here in a group? And
when these cattle come in, we look at them. We look at docility. That's a big thing for us. We want them. They don't have to be pets, but we can't have them. We can't have a rodeo around here when we've got 150 head out here to breed in 2 days, or it's we want it to be smooth and easy. So that's one of the big things we look at when these cattle come in. Another thing we do, we're in these cattle every day. 7 days a week, somebody's here going through a field, looking at them, checking them. Out there, you may talk to yourself just so they hear your voice, they know what's going on, they know who you are. but we're in them 7 days a week. That really helps us. That really pays off when we get them in this barn in these tight spaces in here. We don't have to yell. We're not yelling at the cows to move. We're just walking, making smooth, easy, gentle movements around them. Kevin is here with his horse, and he uses that horse just like I was walking around him myself. It's really something to see when they respond to that.
So the misconception that's out there amongst cattlemen, I think still, I love to watch old westerns and I, but the misconception is that we've got to really hoop and holler and bang and I know sometimes we can get in a situation that's aggravating, and we do have one with a disposition issue or whatever the case may be, or one that just parks herself in behind the chute and all those types of things. But really and truly, we are causing tremendous harm to our future success if we add more and more stress working them through the chute. So Kevin, as I wind up, I just wanted to follow up by asking, I guess, a question not really related to heifers or heifer development, but just tell us kind of some things that are going on at both campuses at the Middle Tennessee Research and Education Center, and kind of what you're focusing on today.
Yeah, so really from a beef perspective, it's really exciting time in the industry. And as all producers know, and as I guess every individual that gets up in the morning and watches the news know that every input cost that's associated in agriculture is increased. It's even more than doubled over the last period of time. So we have to look at opportunities to where we can increase efficiencies of production. So the University of Tennessee has always had that as part of its mission within the research scenario. So at Spring Hill, we are establishing a precision livestock technologies program to where we're installing equipment around our waters, around our feed bunks, and actually equipment that's even associated with visual monitoring through video and infrared camera technologies, to where we can actually take real-time data and really start answering some questions on water consumption, answering some questions on feed consumption, and get even closer to that conversion efficiency that we're looking for. Identifying cattle earlier in stalker type situations so that we can treat these cattle so we don't have a reduction in performance, so we can maintain a consistent rate of gain on these cattle, so there's not a dip there because we didn't catch them quick enough and get them treated and get them back healthy and on a growing plane on whatever ration or forage base that we're feeding them at. We have a lot of stalkers in the country that are super good at that, but we think utilizing some of this technology, we can actually detect some of these cattle that are going to have that slump because of sickness a little earlier, get some treatments in them, and actually reduce input costs because of antibiotic usage or things of that nature. And it also just increases the efficiency on feed. So that's something that's really exciting in Spring Hill. A lot of those technologies are going to be implemented here in Lewisburg as well once we get that program established. Something that I mentioned a little bit earlier that we're really proud of, and has been a long standing program. It began in the 70s, and that's the Central Bull Testing Program that has probably done as much for the Tennessee feeder cattle industry than any program out there. It's given our purebred sector the opportunity to really have a place to know where they have deficits and improve their genetics, but it's also given them that economy of scale. So it's mostly producers that don't have enough bulls to have their own production sale, but they can come together and market with a whole group of bulls in January and have a tremendous market for them. But the group that it's helped the most are our commercial cow-calf producers. They can go there and purchase a bull that's got a tremendous amount of information on it to better and more effectively accomplish the goals that they have for their operation. We're doing a lot of work, as John, you mentioned, and Charlie talked about, on the forage side. So if we're going to improve our efficiencies, we need to reduce our mechanical harvest, right? And then mechanical feeding in the wintertime. So we're harvesting in the spring with tractors and balers, and then we're using tractors and things to feed in the wintertime. So what can we do to increase the days of grazing within the state of Tennessee for our beef cattle producers. So we're doing a lot of work from that perspective. Dr. Renata Nave Oaks, Dr. Bates have a really neat project going where we're researching a new variety of orchard grass that hopefully is going to have more sustainability than some of the conventional varieties of orchard grass, and comparing that to some of our novel fescue types and Kentucky 31. So we're running that in combination with the Stogner program. Really interesting stuff there. And then obviously we really have a big interest in just behavior and how that affects stress. Because stress, as you guys talked about just a little bit earlier, and it's in the human as well, produces cortisol, right? And that affects everything negatively. It affects average daily gain, how cattle perform on feed. It affects their immune systems, how they respond to the vaccines that we go and purchase and give to these cattle. It affects reproduction, that most economically important trait that we've talked about. And we can actually make a positive impact if we learn how to really manage our cattle in a low stress type situation. And one thing that I'm so proud of Charlie and Hugh Moorhead, who's also here at the center, and Matt Backus, we utilize this also. The way we handle these cattle is an opportunity to be advocates for the industry, and I think we sometimes take that for granted. But now more than ever, we need to be true advocates for the industry and set the example. And it pays off in dividends in how these cattle respond later, because they truly have an additive effect. If we treat them bad today, they're going to treat us bad tomorrow. If we handle them properly today, they're going to make our life easier tomorrow.
Absolutely. So as we wind this episode up, I would let our audience know that we will be at the Bull Development Center later on, and we'll have an episode about bull development and about purchasing bulls and maybe interpreting some of the data, Kevin, that's available for these bulls. So watch for that. And let me say as we close, thank you, Kevin, once again for being with us. Charlie, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here at the Heifer Development Center. And also tell our audience that if you have further questions or any questions concerning beef cattle production, see your folks at the local farmers co-op. Thank you for joining us this evening.